Hello, I'm Jason Davis, and tonight there's a special interview with Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Terrance who's recently returned from a mission to Taiwan, the Republic of China, Taiwan. He's led a delegation, and he's going to be speaking with us about what occurred on that trip. Hello and welcome, Prime Minister. How are you?
Thank you very much, Jason. Happy to be here. Happy to have you out on a Sunday.
Well, anything for you, Prime Minister. All right, so as I mentioned, you were in Taiwan recently leading a delegation. The trip lasted for about a week, and we're going to be talking a bit of what happened on the trip. Now, first of all, what was the purpose of this trip?
Well, during my first 100 days, I took this trip, and really it was to signal to the Republic of China, Taiwan, that the relationship that had been established with St. Kitts and Nevis since 1983, this is 39 years, next year will be 40 years with our 40th anniversary of independence, that this relationship is a critical relationship, is a relationship that we highly value, and we wanted to signal that even though there was a shift in government, or administration rather, that we value the relationship in the same esteem as had been over the last 39 years. And so that strong signal needed to be sent, and I think we achieved that.
So why now? Why take this trip now?
It is early in our administration, and because this is a critical relationship, I wanted to send that strong message very early as we lay out our plan and programs and our policies going forward. This speaks to our foreign ministry's commitment to having a strong relationship with the Republic of China, Taiwan. And so it was imperative that we do that early.
Okay. Now, you led quite a sizable delegation consisting of numerous national officials. What was the rationale or the thought process in putting this delegation together?
I think this delegation was put together with the idea of sending a strong and clear and positive message. One, in the sense that irrespective of where one falls with respect to the political divide here in St. Kitts and Nevis, that we are all friends of the Republic of China, Taiwan. And for the first time in our history that I can remember, I am open to correction, but I cannot remember where there was a delegation led by a sitting prime minister and the leader of the opposition. But I wanted that clear message to be sent. In our delegation, we had the Premier of Nevis and the leader of the opposition, the Honorable Matt Grantley, also with the Deputy Premier, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. We also had there the leader of the opposition in the Nevis Island Assembly, the Honorable Cleon Simmons. And so, therefore, it shows that we are serious when we speak about having a united front on issues that are common to all of us. We also had there our Foreign Minister, the Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas. We had the Honorable Joy Clark, Minister of Sustainable Development at TAL. We also had the Honorable Aislinn Phillip, the junior senator, junior minister, rather. We also had with us Mr. Samuel Berridge, a senior in the Office of the Prime Minister, and we had a personal assistant in the Office of the Prime Minister in the person of Ms. Hazel Jeffers. So this really reflected the spectrum of who we are as a people, government, opposition. It also had their youth and persons who are considered more mature. We had a good representation of women and men as well. And so this delegation really reflected not only to Taiwan but to the world the new thrust of this government, which is a government of inclusion.
Okay. I guess you could say it was a very diverse delegation.
Yes, diverse.
All right. Now, I know that during the trip you had several engagements, several meetings, several events throughout the 4 to 5 days that you were there. What are some of the highlights of the trip?
The highlight was meeting the president of Taiwan. And the president is a woman, which is quite interesting and quite welcoming, as well as Taiwan is also striving to have gender equity. We had a multiple engagement, including the reception at the presidential palace. We had a banquet together. We had open and closed meetings. And I would say meeting the president and her leadership team was definitely a highlight. We also visited the Taiwan Veterans Medical Center. That center is an advanced center. It is one of the best in Asia, and I dare say it can rank high in the world as well. Had the opportunity to meet our healthcare professionals who are there, and they are receiving instructions, training with respect to diabetes and chronic kidney disease, diseases that are affecting our people tremendously here, significantly here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So that knowledge transfer is important. I also had the opportunity to see the hospital and to be introduced to pieces of equipment that are very advanced. I had the opportunity to see a particular piece of equipment that I read about when I was a medical resident, and to see it was really captivated me. And it also said to me that Taiwan is an innovative country and a country that is advancing and advancing very quickly. And so that was a highlight. Other highlights were meeting our students who are there. Not only our students, but our citizens. There are persons who live in Taiwan and work in Taiwan. And so I was able to meet with them as well, to hear from the students, interact with them. I hope to have more time at some point with them, but I think that was definitely a highlight. And I was able to visit a number of other centers also, but I think those ones that I mentioned were the ones that would jump out at me at this point in time.
Let's jump back a little to when you said you came across that piece of technology that really captivated you, what was it? What was that piece of technology?
Right. That piece of technology is a new type of technology to diagnose cancers and to treat them. It uses a new type of theory that has been converted into a practical design to deliver healthcare to people. And that type of equipment goes into the cancer, helps to really map it and give you a 3D image of it, and also allows you to treat it without damaging the surrounding tissues and so forth. So it's a very targeted type of treatment. I mean, I don't think we'll have that in the Caribbean for the next 10, 15 years, but it is in Taiwan. And so that was quite intriguing. And I would say that that says a lot about Taiwan. And as we talk more and we talk about the tangible benefits for our people, we'll go more into the healthcare aspect. But that piece of equipment was very telling, and it says a lot about Taiwan.
Well, we're actually at that part right now. So you've mentioned the innovations you've seen,
yes,
and the interactions you've had. But now, how does all that translate to projects and partnerships that can help the Federation?
Right. So based on my communication, my dialogue with the medical professionals from that institution, we will establish what you call telemedicine. That means that we can have the transport of Taiwan's expertise here to St. Kitts and Nevis using, of course, the technology of ICT. And for example, let's say you have a patient in the hospital who has a brain problem and you don't have a neurologist. You can do a teleconference, for example, with an expert in Taiwan who can help in the management of that patient. And so that is a tangible benefit for our people. We also discussed there sending an expert team from Taiwan to here to help us with our national health insurance. Taiwan, has an excellent national health insurance program, and that program has been very successful for a number of years. And so they have become experts at this. And that is the type of expertise that we are seeking as we now seek to embark on implementing our universal healthcare system, more specifically our national health insurance policy. So that again, our people would benefit from. We also discussed the new hospital, and Taiwan has agreed to partner with us in the building out of our new hospital. And so those are tangible benefits that will come to our people, where people would see an immediate improvement in healthcare delivery here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we also discussed, as scholarships, more scholarships at the tertiary level, but we also discussed, Jason, the technical side of it, so that we can send our people to do a course in refrigeration, AC maintenance, auto mechanic, critical areas that are needed to help us to continue to build our country, and so that people can be certified in these technical fields. We also discuss our grants to women in small business. They want to strengthen that. We discuss agriculture and how we can strengthen that as well using resilient techniques as climate is changing. Now there's a program which involves egg production and so forth. So they have also embarked on that. But one of the things that we have embarked on is the issue of climate change, our protection of the environment, to the point where at COP27 this year, we have a pavilion partnering with the Republic of China, Taiwan. So there are a number of critical things that we have done that will bring, I would say, tangible benefits to our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis.
I want to jump back a bit to the new hospital.
Yes.
So now, would this new hospital be built at the site of Jaén, France, or would it be at another location? What's the plan there?
Well, the plan really, and I have asked the Minister of Sustainable Development, the Honorable Dr. Joy Clark, to search for land where we can build a new hospital on virgin land. From all the experts and all the consultants I've spoken to, they've agreed that building on virgin land is the best option. It is more cost effective, and it gives us an opportunity to really build a smart hospital, meaning climate smart, ICT smart, and so forth, and in a new area, which will be much easier to build, as mentioned before, and gives us the opportunity to build a hospital for the 21st century.
Okay. Now, aside from the interactions with the Taiwan officials, another significant part, or rather notable part of this trip, was the presentation of Ambassador Francis's credentials to the president herself. Tell me, how significant was that moment?
It was an extremely proud moment for me. It should be a proud moment for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And I know it was a proud moment for the delegation as well, and even for the Taiwanese. Why? His Excellency, Daniel Francis, is a young man of about 32 years of age. He has a master's degree. He studied in Taiwan, so he speaks the language. He speaks Mandarin fluently. And so Taiwan is proud because this is their product. We are proud because it means that the foundation was laid to give opportunities to young people like His Excellency Daniel Francis to be educated to the point where on their merit that they would become, they can become ambassadors and other, occupy other positions of leadership. And to see a young person be given such a very important and a critical role, and know that that young person has what it takes to really carry out that role in a professional, proficient and effective way, really speaks well about who we are as a country and who we are as a people. So that moment, was a proud moment on multiple levels and a proud moment to all of us.
In fact, your administration has made quite a trend of putting young people in very notable positions.
Yes, and this speaks to our agenda, our policies, and what we had promised the people, that young people will be given opportunities of leadership. Because in that delegation as well was Honorable Aislinn Phillip, a young lady of 29, 30 years of age who has been well educated and who has experience despite her youth and who is ready to serve in that position. I say that just to show you that this is one of the ethos by which this administration would govern, to give young people real opportunities to lead. Why? And not just young people, women as well, because I mentioned my delegation was well balanced. And if you can see our policies in the parliament, in the cabinet, at leadership levels, that women are being given real chance here to lead as well. It is important because I heard before, and I do agree with this statement, that if you are not at the table, you are on the menu. And if young people are not on the table, that means the issues are not being brought to the fore. If women are not at the table as they should be, that means the issues are not brought. And if the issues are not brought, they can't be addressed. And if they're not being addressed, it means that they're being taken advantage of. It is a fact, so they have to be at the table. And that is why we are making these significant strides in making sure that people get their equal opportunity.
Right. When the general public hears about a mission to Taiwan or a state visit to somewhere, it's usually filled with a lot of terminology and highfalutin language and all this unilateral, bilateral, multilateral talk. But the question is, how does this, or how how will this trip to Taiwan benefit the ordinary man? What can the ordinary man or woman on the street expect to gain from your trip to Taiwan?
Well, I would say that it always comes down to what did this trip mean to me? Was it just a joyride? Definitely not. And let me state here that the trip was paid for by the Republic of China, Taiwan, and we had a very gruesome schedule. Even when you saw us on the bikes, we were actually at a trade show promoting St. Kitts and Nevis. So if I have to go on a bike to promote St. Kitts and Nevis, that's not a hard task, is it? And so we're hoping that St. Kitts and Nevis got enough exposure and for my presence there for people to become interested and ask, well, St. Kitts and Nevis, what can we do? Where is it? And so forth. And so we hope that that triggered that type of, would have engendered that type of interest in the people who would have been present or had the opportunity to see us. But for the man on the street, for the average citizen, and even you, the healthcare initiatives, they will benefit you, your family, your community, and so forth, because these are initiatives that would affect everybody in a positive way. We also spoke about the scholarships. More young people will be going to study, or people in general will be going to study. Parents can look forward, especially those who can't afford it, to have an opportunity to send their child to study, whether it is in medicine, engineering, whatever the field is. And especially also we're going to be including in those areas, technical fields. And so more people have the opportunity, those who want to pursue technical fields can have that opportunity as well. With respect to this small grants program for women in small business, to strengthen that and to continue, that's a tangential benefit that people would see. So those are some of the issues on the climate change, and when we implement them on the issue of agriculture and egg production and so forth, so that people can have more benefit. And even with cooperating for other financial contribution for the development of our country, we will see some of those things going forward. Because just recently Taiwan contributed through the federal government $1.2 million to the Nevis Island administration. And we'll see some of those projects even being applied here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So therefore, the average person in St. Kitts and Nevis is already being affected positively by the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis and the Republic of China, Taiwan. And that has been strengthened in our recent visit. So the people can be assured that this trip has been tremendously successful and will bring and continue to bring tangential benefits to all of our people.
Can we jump back a little bit to that small grants program for women? Can you speak a bit more to that?
Right. So the small grants program really was launched, especially during the COVID time, where they would apply for it. And the Taiwanese are working with financial institutions, so you can apply. And during that time, you have to go through a certain training and orientation and so forth, and be given that grant where you can start your business or strengthen your business and have that support to be successful. And so that is already out there. Some people have benefited, and we want to strengthen that program, because we believe that if we are to help our women, as they head most of the households in St. Kitts and Nevis, and those households are strengthened, that we can really eradicate poverty here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Because when you help a woman, you help her children, you help the families, and therefore that gives us a very, very good opportunity. And I want to thank the government and people of the Republic of China, Taiwan, for really partnering with us in making this a reality.
Okay. So the entirety of your trip took about 4 to 5 days, and then you were, headed back to St. Kitts, but you didn't even get a chance to rest. If I understand that you were, even on the plane ride back to St. Kitts, you came to the assistance of reviving an unresponsive passenger. Tell me, how did all that happen?
Well, basically, it was actually the flight from Miami to St. Kitts Nevis. So I was on the flight and sitting, of course, after such a long trip from Taiwan, which was 11 hours, and then from Los Angeles to Miami was another 5 hours or so. So it was an opportunity to take a little bit of rest, the shortest leg of the trip, really. And then I heard the hostess asking if there was a doctor on board. It was said very, calmly, as it should have been said. But then I did not move immediately. I listened again to see if I heard correctly. And then she said yes. And then he said, again, is there a doctor on board? So immediately, after confirming for sure that that was what was said, I took my seatbelt off and walked towards where the patient was, as I will call that person now. And getting there, I realized that person was unresponsive. And in my first initial assessment, I realized that the pulse was either extremely weak to the point where I couldn't really detect it. And so we moved to get the patient into a position on the ground, on the aisle, in the aisle area, so that we can start chest compressions. But once I moved, the patient elevated the legs to get some blood flow back, recognizing how the patient was sitting. The patient started to come around more and more. And then I was able to examine, take the vital signs, realize that the patient had become stable. Then we were able to call the emergency persons. I was able to hand over my initial assessment and report. But by the time I recognized, after taking the blood pressure, listening to the heart, the pulse and so forth, that the patient had become stabilized. And I advised that the patient should not travel on that flight, but should get to another center to do more in-depth studies and to see exactly what was taking place and what was the cause of this episode that he had suffered. But for my last inquiry, the patient is doing well, and I do continue to wish the patient well. So you see, once a doctor, always a doctor. You can't throw away the stethoscope. And just recently, we had 250 healthcare workers trained in that type of certification course called BLS, and we did ACLS and PALS, so we can do it for adults in more significant situations and also for children. So I was happy that I was in a position to help that patient. And for all who were on board, a hostess and all those who were passengers who were seeking to help others chimed in as well. And so we were able to help that patient and their family, and we had a good outcome.
Indeed. Well,
yes.
Thankfully for that.
Yes.
So, final question now. Are there any other trips coming up similar to this mission to Taiwan?
Well, right. We are now thinking of a trip to the Middle East as we seek to strengthen our CBI program. As you know, our CBI program is fundamentally leveled in that part of the world. And as I've said, we have promised, and as an administration, that we will do what is necessary to strengthen the program for its longevity and make sure we do everything that is necessary. And part of that is to travel there and to alert what we are doing in terms of strengthening the program, and so that those who are involved can be aware. And so that is the next trip that is being thought of. And I would say the initial stages of the planning process has started. But once confirmed, as usual, we will update our nationals here in St. Kitts and Nevis as to what our plans are.
Okay, as we wrap up, any final words for the listening and viewing audience?
Well, I would like to say that we are a nation who have had a long-standing, excellent relationship with the Republic of China, Taiwan. I want to thank the government, the president, and people of Taiwan for their continued support and collaboration in significant areas that have resulted in tangible benefits to our people. Next year marks the 40th anniversary of our independence, but it also marks the 40th anniversary of us establish an official relationship with the Republic of China, Taiwan. We gained independence on the 19th of September, and our relationship was established on October 9th, 1983, by the then Prime Minister and national hero, the Honorable His Excellency, Dr. Kennedy Simmons. And irrespective of which administration would have been in, we continued that relationship. So I've invited the President to come so that we can celebrate independence and our long-standing relationship together. And at that event, I will invite our only living national hero, because he was significant in establishing that relationship. So I would say to our people that the relationship is stronger today, and we continue to benefit as we collaborate both countries together.
Well, thank you very much for stopping by and informing us of the outcome of your trip to Taiwan.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure. I've been speaking with the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Terrance Drew, who's been giving us an update and a wrap-up of his recent trip to Taiwan, where he led an official delegation who met with several Republic of China Taiwan officials and solidified projects and partnerships which will redound to the benefit of the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis. I'm Jason Davis for ZIZ TV.